Hello everybody and welcome to the IAPC&M for another monthly CPD and business building webinar. I'm Dawn Campbell and today in the hot seat we have Ant Hodges, who is a marketing expert. His flagship program, Coach on Fire, love that title, Ant, is exactly what we need as coaches are always seeking to diversify and embrace technology, particularly for those in the UK where it's a very, very crowded market with 130,000 people calling themselves coaches. So we're all seeking to attract and work with an ever increasing audience. So Ant is going to explain how we do that. So let's find out what it means to be a coach on fire and see what we can immediately put into practice for our own benefit and for the business benefit of our business. So over to you, Ant, please.
Excellent. So great to be here and great to be presenting for you guys. I'm just going to share my screen so I can kick off my presentation. If you're watching this live, then feel free to chip in, ask questions along the way. I can't see the questions, so Dawn, you're going to have to pop your hand up and just sort of say, we got a question or whatever. That would be really helpful. But yeah, the whole aim of my presentation really today is to just share my journey of where I've come to really well. And the journey that I'm still on in terms of wanting to obviously grow and develop my own coaching practice. And really, I wanted to share the journey that I went on from becoming accredited as a coach and the journey that it was within the first 12 months, which saw me implement some strategies and some tactics that earlier in my coaching journey I hadn't actually implemented, which enabled me to grow six-figure coaching business. So that's why I've called it scaling a coaching business from six figures within 12 months and becoming on fire within your business. And I'll explain what it means to be a coach on fire in a sec. So here's what we're looking to achieve, I hope, on today's webinar training. I want to bring clarity to the right way that we can create a business and a life that you love, because ultimately we're in business so that we can create the lifestyles that we love and to serve the people that we want to serve. If our life is driven by our business, then we've kind of got it topsy-turvy. So there's a way in which we can get some real clarity on that. Strategies to bring you all the leads and clients you want. No matter what kind of networking group or event that I go to, the one challenge that I always come across when I'm speaking to fellow coaches, I'm just not getting the leads and sales coming through. So it's like, how do we do that? I'm going to share with you the strategies to do it. I want to simplify things. The online technology in the online world can be very complex, very fast moving. I just want to simplify some things and really give you some guidance on where you can get started or where you can take from where you are right now and move forward. But also the path to be able to scale up that I've been able to pick up from different coaches and mentors that I've been part of, different mastermind groups that I've been part of, and business models that I've really studied since 2016, really, when I started to really look at how to take my coaching business from where it was to where it needed to be. So where did it all start? Well, that was me and my sister and my mum, very young age, lived in Liverpool, moved south when I was 6 years old, which is why I do not have a Scouse accent anymore. But in 2007, that was the start of my business journey. And my best friend at the time and we decided to create this branding and advertising agency. We always used to joke about the 2 a.m. idea factory that used to wake you up in the middle of the night because you had a creative idea. And that was what we called the company, that creative rush of ideas. What we actually managed to do was grow that business to over 100,000 within 4 months. Just starting out, the two of us, and then it was a multiple six-figure business within 12 months. But unfortunately, we started this at the wrong time and we probably went into the wrong kind of industry in terms of serving clients, because we were creating a model that required us to have staff and offices. So high overheads. We were also going into working with larger companies, the Defence Storage and Distribution Agency of the MOD, Tier Fund as an international charity, and a number of other big clients were the people that we were serving. But the recession hit hard, finances in marketing budgets were stripped out, and unfortunately in 2009 we had to close the business. I went 6 figures into personal debt. We made everybody redundant. My business partner actually moved country and left me holding the baby, and it was a complete mess. Didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do. But I had a choice. With the family to think of, I didn't want to declare it all as a write-off and go bankrupt. And that was my family at the time. They're a little bit more grown up now, but I had to get a job. That's the family now. You know, Hannah and Lucy are my 2 girls. Jack is my wife, and we've been married since I was 21. She was 19. Very happily married. And the drive for me in my business is to have more fun with them. The whole process that we went through with Creative Rush going bust and creating a business that really it needed me 24/7 in that business. I wanted to create something very different. So the job that I got was with a e-commerce agency called To Infinity, and I was employed as a business development director along with Al Keck as the MD. And the thing with this is I started to really learn how people bought online and products and services. But I also had enough money to start servicing the debt and increase my own training. So I trained with some of the very best guys in the world: Taki Moore, Jeff Walker, Brennan Bouchard, Chris Farrell, Shah Wasman, just to mention a few, in terms of programs that I was able to get into. In 2011, when I went back to being self-employed, I ran 2 different kind of groups. Business Wealth Clubs, which was top left-hand corner of your screen. I was a certified business wealth coach through the Business Wealth Club franchise. And I also ran my own business coaching and marketing events under the banner of Make Your Marketing Better. It was a great time. I loved it. And I was starting to practice some of the tools and the techniques that these guys that I trained under had. I built a video studio and started to produce some online videos in terms of teaching people better marketing tactics and funnels, even traveling to clients' homes and offices to start building them out for them in terms of flow, in terms of product, and then implementing them. But for me, I was really struggling in this space as a marketing coach to really take ground until I met 2 very special people, Nikki and Tony V. You probably know them very well. I got certified as a master coach through their organization in May of 2016. And I was able to start to look at how to grow the coaching side of my business. The events and everything was all there, and I transitioned everything into online group programs. And up to August 2016, a few months after getting my accreditation, the income from my coaching business was almost a full-time income. It wasn't quite where I wanted it to get to, so I had some work to do. So what I did is I tried something very different to what I'd been doing the years before. Instead of trying to compete on price with clients and trying to get free coaching sessions all the time to try and win clients, it was a hard slog. So I tried a different way to market the business. I mapped my entire business out this time on the landing of our house with Post-it notes all across the landing. And we were still in the process of trying to get the house sorted and decorated. But this enabled me to start running small group sessions in London where I'd gather 3 up to 5 people in a room, and we'd really dive deep into their business and how we can start to look at growing it. I was speaking on stages across London and at corporate events as well. I was traveling to clients' homes to actually deliver small little workshops for them and their clients, and also being able to take my clients away with me on a mastermind retreat, which I do every April in Porto. That's the way in which I tried to start to think about doing something very differently. And ultimately, what I learned was ultimately that there was a different kind of business model. The business model that I needed to build was very different in 2016, 2017 to when I started in 2011. And in terms of implementing some change, from that moment, from August 2016 to August 2017, that income of 32,000 had grown within a year to over 100,000. That was my coaching income through my Stripe account, through my online bank, in terms of delivering the coaching services. So my whole point is to share with you the process that I went through and help you to start building this into your business and helping you to start putting some of these strategies in place. So the way I did this is I took my knowledge, my experience, and my wisdom. I created a framework. I birthed a brand, and I applied what I thought was seen to be the best business model to be able to truly scale up and have a business model that will really work. That in turn has become Coach on Fire, the coaching business that I have today. So I want you just to imagine for yourself, imagine if we were able to create a business model that obviously provided you with all the money that you needed and to live the life that you want. Imagine if you could have complete freedom to work with who you want, when you want, where you want, with zero price objections. That you were excited to look in the mirror and see yourself and your life as you dreamed of when you first started your business. And you could leverage the powerful strategies of the $1 million coaches to scale up your business fast. I've been fortunate enough to be part of someone like Brendan Burchard's Empire Group for a year back in 2015. I was fortunate enough to also be part of Jeff Walker's group for a couple of years and really dig deep and understand how they could gross $5, $6, $10 million a year in online revenue. And what I teach through Coach on Fire is helping my clients to transition. It's also the direct implication of learning this is I'm growing my own coaching businesses and with my own products and programs too. When I share these things, there's often a number of objections that I get, and I get thrown at me. And do you know what? I don't have thousands to spend on video production and advertising and all the stuff to make it happen. I also don't have a list. Nobody knows me, and I don't have a recognized brand in the marketplace. The technology is my biggest headache, and I find it all so confusing. Linking multiple systems together, when they break, the biggest breakage for me at the time was WordPress. And I know that many people will run their programs and systems and stuff on WordPress. I had WordPress, Infusionsoft, and ClickFunnels. Everything now in terms of my own business runs within one system, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit. And the biggest objection is I love one-to-one sessions with my clients, and I can't see myself offering anything other than that. For me, one-to-one coaching sessions is still the one thing that I love to do more than anything. I love to spend the time with the client, see the whites of the eyes, even if it's through the lens, and be able to see some real change. But I also love aspects of my business where I can serve people on a one-to-many basis, far beyond, and leveraging technology that helps me to go far beyond the one-to-one. So as a caveat, this is online training. I don't know where you're at in terms of your business right now. I do need to say that clearly my results and those results of clients and stories that I may share are not typical, and your results will vary from anything that I share. It may vary from anything I share on this training. The one thing that I would say is implementation is the only superpower you need. You can learn the strategies and tactics and have your notepad by the side and start writing stuff down, but that notepad is not necessarily going to make you the money. That notepad is not going to grow your business. That notepad is not going to help you to get your marketing into gear to attract the clients that you want. It's the implementation of those ideas that's going to do it for you. So, who's this training for? If you're a coach wanting to finally crack this business and create for yourself the life that you dreamed of and started, however you define that success, then it's for you. If you're a coach and you want to serve thousands around the world rather than a small number of local clients, this is for you. If you're someone that wants to break free and not be a slave to your diary and your business, then this is for you. But on the flip side, if you are looking for that push button solution or magic silver bullet to earn millions overnight, trust me, they don't exist, and this won't be for you. If you're obviously looking to enter the industry and all you want to do is say, look at me, that kind of allure for celebrity authority is a big pull. But I believe that strongly in this coaching industry, that this industry is about serving others first, more than ourselves. We reap the rewards of that service. and those looking to just take money out and not invest time, energy, and commitment to their customers, enabling them to get to their end goal and achieve their ambition. If you're not on that page with me, then you're probably not here. And I probably know that I'm not speaking to any of you here anyway. So here's what we're going to cover. These were the 5 points that were put out with regards to the webinar. So I'm going to cover what it means to be a coach on fire, what I understand it to be, where the name came from, and how you can relate that to yourself. How to become visible in a crowded marketplace. How to use 3 questions to qualify every lead. How to scale with the right products and services, and setting your course for 2020. I've got a notification that's popped up, Dawn, and I can't see it because I'm presenting. So,
okay, it's fine. I will let you know as and when it's appropriate.
Okay, great, no problems. So, what is a coach on fire? Well, Coach on Fire came from my coach at the time when I was trying to explain the kind of successes that I'd had in terms of growing the business to that 6-figure. And they turned around and said, "Ant, you are just on fire." And I went, "Yeah, that's the name of the brand that I want to launch. And what does it mean?" And ultimately for me, being a coach on fire means that we are future focused in terms of future prospects for ourselves, but also we're wanting our clients to have that future focus. Often we look back at the things of our life to see how those actions and those decisions that we might have taken have manifested into what we see today. But if we have a future focus and we're looking forwards more than we're looking back, then we will absolutely be able to achieve the success that we want, no matter how we define it. And in terms of defining success, I work with clients who say, right, I want a $10 million bank account. I work with other clients who basically say, I want to live in summer. I want to travel the world and I just want to live where it's sunny. I have other clients who just say, I want to be able to earn a full-time income in the fewest possible hours so I can spend all the time with my family. However you define success for you, define it and have that future focus on your future prospects. The second thing is the intense belief. The intense belief that your customers can actually do it, that your clients can actually achieve it, and that you've got their back. If you believe that they are going to be able to make the change, then you will be behind them. But more than that, you've got to have the intense belief that you can do it too, that you can make a difference. There are an awful lot of coaches that I speak to who suffer with what a lot of people would classify as maybe imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome for me is one of those things that says, I can't stand in the marketplace because I'm not really a true expert. I really don't know my stuff. Or I don't feel like I've got the authority to be able to speak into that. Have the intense belief that you've been called to serve these people with the knowledge, wisdom, and experience that you've got, and go and serve them. The next thing is the responsible action. We've got to take responsible action as coaches to take the right clients on, not to just take clients on for the sake of earning money, but taking the right kind of clients on that we can truly serve, and ultimately that we potentially know are going to take the responsible action themselves. Because the worst thing in the world, I remember when I started my coaching business, I'd literally work with anybody that would say yes. And then I started to think, well, a lot of these clients aren't necessarily getting great results. What's going on? And I'm like, they're not taking action, or they're not showing up to calls on time. And putting in systems and processes to ensure that you take the responsible action and that they take the responsible action is crucial. And the final thing in terms of fire was a massive lesson that I learned myself. I was over 20 stone in weight. I was drinking a glass of wine or, a couple of glasses most nights with my evening meal. I wasn't really exercising, but I needed to change. I needed to make a change because I needed to show up in the best possible frame of mind for my clients. And so I needed to develop a system and a strategy to have the energy to persevere. I needed to look after myself because if no one was looking after me, then my coaching business wasn't going to exist. But also with our clients, we need to help them to understand that well-being is a massive part of their journey towards getting to where they want to get to, whatever they're trying to overcome, or the challenges that they're facing, or the ambitions that they have. Developing a lifestyle to have the energy to persevere is key. So that's what I mean by being a coach on fire. And, you know, within my programs and within my training, it's just one of those mantras that we literally just remind ourselves of more often than not. Are we future focused? Do we have a focus on our future prospects? Do we have the intense belief? Are we taking the responsible action? And do we have the energy to persevere? So we're going to move on to part 2. And really, we're going to start looking at what it means to be visible in a crowded marketplace. And if we've not got any questions or anything, we'll move on. So how do we become visible in a crowded marketplace? I know that over 100,000 people are calling themselves coaches in the UK alone, but globally, the coaching market is absolutely huge in terms of the number of people who are calling themselves coaches. If we take the word business coach, for instance, and we did a Google search, because Google is the font of all knowledge, we can see that there are 9.4 million results in Google for the term business coach. However, as a business coach, I was just like, how can I really start to become more visible? And through training that I was doing with Brendan Bouchard, one of the key things that he talked about back in my early days of my coaching was all about creating products and programs that ultimately are branded, because the brand in and of itself will then start to be found. And if you were to Google Coach on Fire today, we've only got 146,000 competing pages on that term in Google. So I'm going to get found more, and I'm going to get found better for the term Coach on Fire. Now, you Google Coach on Fire, you do see a lot of pictures of coaches that are on fire, but number one search engine result is our website. So the thing is, being able to define a brand is really important. A lot of people will say, well, my brand is my name. And that's what I'm looking to do. But I think for me, when you look to scale up, when you look to really sort of develop this, I have my Ant Hodges personal brand, absolutely. But I have products and programs that are then branded. The 2 programs that I mainly run are Coach on Fire, which is specifically aimed at helping coaches to develop their coaching business and better market grow and scale. But Knowledgepreneur, which is all about creating online courses, products, and programs. But when you start to think about a brand for your own business, research the brand name. Google it, look at Companies House, look at listings to see whether businesses are registered, look at trademark registers. Because I see a lot of similar kind of coaching names sometimes, or similar companies calling themselves similar things. And then when they go in and they try and find the social media accounts, so securing their name, they look at the social media, they look at websites and URLs. Sometimes they're all taken. But the one thing that I would do in that research is consider something that can be as unique as possible, so that you could potentially consider registering a trademark to protect it as well. Both of my programs have, and I did that through a trademark lawyer. I'm not qualified to give you the legal advice on how to do that, but the process itself is fairly simple. And as long as you have something that you've researched and is unique, then sometimes those trademark applications can go through very easily. So consider trademarking as a protection method as well, to consider adding weight to your brand. Because after my accreditation, I was ready to go and launch my brand, but I protected the brand. And then once that protection had come through and I got the little R symbol that I could put next to the logo, that's when I launched my brand. So consider that as an option. Get a logo designed, obviously. Now, a lot of people will say, go over to somewhere like Fiverr.com, spend a bit of money, but you're dealing with one person to be able to get your logo designed and become unique in the marketplace. I would suggest going to somewhere like 99 Designs. 99 Designs is where I have both of these logos designed up. Despite being a graphic designer in my early days and running a branding and advertising agency, doing my own branding was a big, big challenge. I was too close to it. So 99 Designs is almost like a crowdfunding or a crowdsourcing platform where they crowdsource different designers to be able to design you up logos, and then you pick the best ones and you shortlist them, and then you pay for the one that you want at the end. So it gives designers an opportunity to practice and do those things, but you also get hundreds of designs come through. That's why it's called 99 designs, because you could have, hundreds of designs coming through. So it's a really great tool to be able to do that. Create a framework. This is one way that you are going to stand out in the marketplace. If you have a framework that's unique to your business and your coaching practices, in terms of a framework that you might take people through, then you are differentiating yourself in the marketplace from just another life coach, or just another business coach in some way, shape, or form, or just another spiritual coach. Then creating this framework also allows people to understand the journey that they might go on when they work with you, and maybe even choose what level they even enter in terms of, do I start at the beginning, or I could probably skip a few different things, I could go to the next level, whatever it might be. A framework will really help you to do that. And launch a website. Launch a website. The number of coaches who I meet who have been told, just get your LinkedIn profile sorted and a business card together, that's the minimum that you need. I'm like, where do people go when they want to look for the authority of somebody online today? Yes, they're looking at their social profiles, but they're also going to look for a website. And a website doesn't have to be very complicated. I effectively take a lot of my clients through the process of building just a 5-page website that encompasses a homepage, an about page, a blog, a services page, and a contact page. And that is the minimum, because if you've got that, that's something to then build on. That's a presence where you can position your branding. That's a presence online where you can unpack your story and your expertise and display your credentials. But it's also where you can write content or publish video to show and demonstrate your expertise. Part two of this becoming visible in a crowded marketplace that we all have to get a hold on today is video marketing. And I can probably hear the sighs, even from the people watching the recording, when I say video recording, because it's one of those things that everybody knows that we need to get a hold of, but how do we do it properly? Well, the ultimate thing is we've got to think of, are there really conducive stats as to being able to do this? And I've got 3 for you from HubSpot. Those that watch at least 30 seconds of an online video or video advert today are 23 times more likely to subscribe, watch more, and inquire. 23 times, not just like the spurious 10x, but 23 times more likely. 47% of online buyers view 3 to 5 pieces of video content before even talking to someone or buying a service. And up to 50% of internet users look for video related content to the product or service that they're considering or they're looking to buy from before they make an inquiry. If we're not using video today, this is where the market has moved, and we need to transition, and we need to look at progressing and making sure that we are doing the things that are going to set us apart in our marketplace. The reality is that videos will go onto different platforms. My videos go onto my Facebook page and onto my YouTube channel. And the one thing I would say is they are the minimum that you would need. Publishing video onto LinkedIn as well is important. LinkedIn is about to roll out live streaming videos, the ability to live stream onto LinkedIn as well. And some people may already have that, but it's in a beta rollout. The more we do it on these platforms, the more they will give us credibility, and the more they will help our content to be seen by others. Video content is a must today. But where do we start? How do we do it? I mean, I'm sat in a video studio. I've got lights. I've got my microphone just below the camera. My camera's here. You know, you can set all of this up. But the minimum you need is this. That's all you need to be able to do video today. A tripod that enables you to put your phone on. And if you can see that in the screen, just something as simple as a video, small little tripod with a smartphone. Most modern day smartphones are recording in high definition today. They allow you to upload directly to the platforms. They have editing capabilities for you to be able to trim the start and end of those videos off. And we today have no real excuse for not being able to produce video and get video going in our businesses today. So I really would implore you to use video, but let me just break it down a little bit more for you. The business model that I had and I started to create in terms of moving towards this six-figure goal of having this coaching business earning $100,000 a year, I developed a system of 4 types of products within the business. I had an opt-in, which was a 20-minute free call. I encourage people to consider buying a small product from me online, which was maybe a PDF workbook and also a 3-part video series. My core offer was a strategy session, a 3-hour strategy session with me for £500. And the ultimate aim was to then sell them from that strategy session into becoming a private coaching client at £1,500 a month. I would drive people to my website, which had my opt-in, through traffic that I would use in terms of advertising. And I'd spend probably about £20 a week. Instead of buying the lattes on the way to the office, I'd spend it on the advertising. But what I also started to do was started to produce what I'm calling authority content, blog content and video content. And what was happening, instead of the customers and the leads coming through this funnel in this way and going from one to the next, to the next, to the next, I started to see something different happening. A lot of people who were opting into this free call were literally wanting to become private clients straight away. And I was like, what's going on here? Don't you need to consume more of my content? Don't you need to see some of my other products? Don't you need to buy a smaller product first? It was the power of the video content that I had out there. And people were opting in, already having made a buying decision. They wanted to work with me. They knew that I was an expert because they consumed my content. They were on a call with me just for me to be able to close them. And ultimately, it's that expert positioning in the marketplace that I truly believe today is driven by video content that will enable us, when we start speaking to leads, all of those leads are pre-qualified. All of those leads want a little bit more of us. All of those leads are ready to buy because they're getting results in advance of buying from us, from the content that we are publishing. So I would certainly say that the one thing to make yourself more visible today is video. And on top of that is the ability to birth a brand. Have we got any questions or anything before we move on to the next section, Dawn?
Yes. Could you just go back and explain a little bit more about the framework?
Yes, I'm going to come on to the framework in terms of how we develop a framework in a little bit. So yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So the next section that I've got, I promised you to give you 3 questions that ultimately enable us to qualify every lead. And I speak from a position of experience here that the different brands, the different businesses that I have, we use these 3 questions to qualify every lead in our business. And we convert over 80% of all of our inquiries into customers in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean that they're always buying at the high price level. They may be buying at a low level, but they are converting into customers in some way, shape, or form. And I've got my team trained on the process of utilizing these 3 questions. And after doing lots of training and, use left, right, and center, but we've just boiled it down to these 3 that have enabled these conversations also to happen very quickly sometimes. And we just get to the point far quicker. So I'm going to share these questions with you, but they form part of a neat little framework where we understand that people want to move away from pain towards pleasure in some way, shape, or form. They're in the position that they find themselves in now, and they want to move forward into the future. We're not static in time. So that the pain they have now is the first question, really, helping me to understand their key frustrations. That's the pain that they have now. I'm quite an informal guy. A lot of the conversations that I have will start with something like, okay, so what's bugging you right now? What's ticking you off? What's going on with the business? What are you struggling with in the business right now? Those kind of questions, to really ask them what their struggles are right here, right now, because they're the frustrations that they're going to have front and center. And when talking to a client, okay, so what are the things that are bugging you right now? Opens up that dialogue, because that dialogue of helping them to unpack some of their frustrations will help you later on in this conversation. I also want to understand what's going to happen if those frustrations are never resolved or there isn't a solution found. So what if we don't sort it? What happens? And that kind of starts to unpack and get them into a mindset of their future pain, which ultimately are their fears. So now we understand their frustrations and their fears. And it's been, focusing on the negative. We don't want to stay in that space too much. We get them to say, well, where do you want to be now? Or where do you want to be in the next 3 months? Where do you want to be in the next 6 months? Because if we can get them to start waxing lyrical about their future pleasure, their aspirations, their ambitions, we know where they're going to want to get to. And that enables us to be able to suggest the first step. So here's the first step that I suggest we take. Now, this enables us to pre-qualify through a conversation without actually going deeper into, starting to ask about budgets and costs and all of those kind of things, because those things should come last. We should be wanting to serve and listen and coach through those conversations to then suggest the first step. So a lot of the clients that would apply to be private clients with myself, I would use this conversation. But then through the conversation, I would understand potentially where their business is at, where their coaching business is at. And they might not necessarily be right as a private client. They might be better coming along to a live event first, or doing some online training first, to get a result there before taking the next step. And being able to prescribe the right thing is like going to the doctor. Prescribing the right medicine to get them the result will put huge amounts of value in the value bank, so that they continue to subscribe, to be part of your journey and customer with you. So that framework, and if you want to take a picture of that right now, if you're watching it, just keep it aside. That is the simplest framework that I've used for any kind of lead generation within the businesses. And what this has helped us to do, like I was saying, if we go back to the flow and the funnel that I built out in the business model, from that opt-in call, I can direct people to the right type of product. So it doesn't have to always go as a step-by-step process, or what some would say, if you've got a cheaper product and a more expensive and a top end, an escalation of products. It doesn't always have to be step-by-step. You could find that you're speaking to a customer and they want to jump, and they may be in a position to jump right to a high ticket or a high priced program. So I want to move on, and I want to talk next about scaling with the right products and services, because obviously building out the business and looking to scale up was one way that obviously I was able to do it. But if we look at a company such as Apple launched the AirPods, the Bluetooth AirPods, back in 2016. They sold 16 million in 2017. 35 million in 2018, up to 60 million in 2019, and are on target to sell over 100 million AirPods in 2020. That's literally a 50% growth year on year. And when you look at that, this is a product of a company. If 100 million AirPods are sold at an average of $200, which is what there are in the States, ultimately that brings it right down to a 20 billion turnover with a $7 billion profit margin, which gives them a valuation of around 175 billion if it was a company in its own right. So if it was in its own right, it would be worth 175 billion, which would make it the 32nd largest company in the US. But this is just a product of a company, one of the most successful companies in the world. And their secret is to create a suite of products. It's not just one product or one service that they offer. And this is where, we've got to look at how our coaching businesses can change and develop and grow. Because the worst number in business is the number one. One person, one customer, one product, one service, one lead flow, one income stream. If any one of those things disappears, we haven't got a business. And this is the big, big lesson that I learned from the big guys that I was working with and training under. Even Apple today, my desk looks like an orchard with the number of apples that are on it. But fundamentally, it's the same principle that I think we need to develop in our business. So how do we do this? Well, if you think about the amount of time that you invest in a product or service in terms of delivery and creation, and also the money in which you want your customers to be able to part with, this small little framework will help you to start to see how we can start to shape and create a suite of products. Digital products are becoming the norm. I'm working with many coaches around the world who are producing audio products and meditation and mindfulness type products, and they're selling them on their website. They're creating online video training. I work with hypnotherapists who are creating hypnotherapy audios and programs to help people to cure themselves from smoking and stop smoking and all of these kind of things. And they've literally been able to leverage the online technology with digital products to reach out to a more wider audience by creating these digital products. Group programs and events are a way to leverage groups of people rather than just spending one-to-one time with people all the time. And the ability to be able to run a group program, whether it's online or whether it's in person, has just become easier and easier and easier. We're on a platform called Zoom right now. And literally, I have a group program, and that group program meets every Wednesday. And we literally dial in for 1 hour of Q&A with me. During the course of that month, they will also have some other training and things like that released into a private members area. And this has become a subscription service now. So I have members from all over the world who are subscribed in a membership platform. They get a live Q&A with me. I'm here in the video studio, and we'll get the double wide flip chart out sometimes, and we'll draw up strategies, we'll review landing pages, we'll do all of those things. But they're getting the marketing coaching and the input from me to be able to enable them to grow their business. And that's through subscription. I have a mastermind program that is limited to 10 people a year. At the moment, we're not at full complement for 2019. 2020 is coming. But this mastermind program is a high-level program where people get a little bit more access to me in person and at live events as well as online. But this, again, it's a higher-priced program because it's more of my time and energy to invest, and also I limit it. And then right on the top end is the ability to offer private one-to-one coaching. The ability to be able to grow a product suite like this enables us to be able to position our one-to-one coaching in a far better way for us financially in our businesses, because we can afford to price it more. Because when a lot of coaches are starting out, they're trying to get as many one-to-one coaching clients as possible, and the race to the bottom is always there. But actually, if you develop a suite of products and programs that are delivered either digitally online or in group sessions, and you're leveraging group programs, then you can position your one-to-one as a much higher priced program. It's more of your time invested into it, and therefore you don't have to sell as many. And you can work with the people you really want to work with. I have 6 private one-to-one coaching clients. Um, 4 of them are in the US, 1 is in Austria, and 1 is in the UK. And I work with them because I choose to work with them through an application process, and they have found me. I've become the hunted rather than being the hunter by developing a business model that enables all of this to happen. So for me, this is the answer to be able to scale up with the right kind of products and programs. The final piece of the webinar today is really just to help you and guide you on setting your course for 2020. So we are coming to the end of the year. If you're watching this webinar another time of the year, it's the middle of November, and we're just coming up to the end of 2020, end of a decade, and the start of a new one. Where do we go, and how do we develop and grow our businesses? So I want to give you 3 points that will really help you, based on what I've shared today, to help you to define a process of how you start setting your course for 2020. My entire Coach on Fire framework is a 9-part framework that I take people through in order for them to be able to become a Coach on Fire. But the first step is to birth a brand. The branding and the information that we talked about at the beginning of the session, where you research your name, secure your brand name, get the logos, the frameworks, and the website launched, is crucial. And the question about frameworks that was asked earlier, it's so important when you think of the journey that somebody is going on from the point at which they come into contact with you to where they want to get to. That journey may be filled with many milestones. And the way in which you can develop a framework and you understand where somebody wants to get to is to define the milestones along that journey that they may go through. So coupled with obviously birthing the brand in terms of choosing the name is video. But when we look at my framework, the whole process is split down. So we develop the success fuel in our business, so we fuel it right. We then launch and we survive on oxygen by building a list, really owning a niche, and setting up the systems that enables our business to really grow. But we scale our business by sending in the heat, stepping up by choice, choosing to serve in many different ways, and also making sure that we are stepping out of the business more. When I talk about Live the Dream, which is our 9th module in the framework, it's all about choosing to be able to have a business that can operate without you always having to be there. And that's a true way to scale up and really become a Coach on Fire. So this whole framework is a definition of the milestones that I went through to be able to get my business to where it is. And if you can define the milestones, then you can define a framework. That framework is a series of coaching, maybe even training, to enable your client to get to where they want to get to, coupled with tools and resources that will enable them to be able to get there faster. So birthing a brand is crucial. We've just talked through the framework, and the framework is crucial to be able to differentiate yourself more than anything, because once you define that framework and you've got it set out in terms of this is how you can work with me, then people can make some of those buying decisions as well. Because more often than not, a life coach will look very similar to another life coach in a directory of life coaches. But a life coach who defines a framework of coaching will stand out more than others, because this is what I do. This is how I help. This is the journey that I'm going to take you on. This is how I understand where you would want to get to. And then the final piece of the puzzle for 2020 is to consider the types of products that you would want to create. And obviously the types of products that you would want to create flow within this kind of a framework. But more than that, they enable you to be able to build a business that when you start teaching, or when you start talking to people rather, you can actually lead them to the right kind of products within your business if you have a suite of products. You're not always trying to sell one thing. That is how to really look at creating products. So, as I said, the framework that I teach is my Coach on Fire Success Framework, and those 3 steps are the first part of the framework. And I hope that the presentation today has helped you to understand where you could potentially start to move and shape and in London. So I'm in Heathrow on the 30th. A one-day masterclass. This masterclass will go through the 9 points of my Coach on Fire success framework in full to give you a roadmap and a plan to move forward for 2020. You can either grab your phone now, most smartphones, I've been doing this a lot lately on a lot of the webinars. Most smartphones, if you just open the camera, scan the QR code, you'll be able to go through to the booking page. I'm only asking you just to pay for the coffee for the event, but I love to have a room full. So please come and join me. If you can't join me, all the information available on the website as well. If you can't join me, then I'm also running a Setting Your Course for 2020 online summit. This is a completely free of charge online summit for 3 hours where I'll dive deep. I'll ask questions around setting goals and setting the strategy right for moving forward. And I will unpack some of the Coach on Fire framework, not all of it, during that time as well. So you can either scan the code to get the booking page on your mobile phone to come along to the event, or you can scan that on the Setting Your Course for 2020 online summit on your phone, and literally it's just name and email address to register for the summit there. They're the two things that I'd love to serve you as a community with, and being part of the community is an amazing thing. If you've got comments or questions, now's the time. I've got some time free, but also in the Facebook group is where, just mention me in the Facebook group and I'll, get some questions put into the Facebook group so that I can come in and answer them in there as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Ant. High energy, on fire, I should say.
I should have warned everybody at the start. Sorry, I tend to go at a bit of a pace. So
no, that's good. Love it. Well, this is one of the things I hate about being an expat, is that I can't just pop over to London at the end of a week and join all the fabulous events that I know that are going on all year. But I have just made a note in my diary, so I will be joining you on the 18th for your online summit, which sounds fantastic. Great. So there were a couple of things that, by the way, I don't even know what AirPod is. I don't know whether I should even
AirPods.
Yeah, never heard of it.
They're Bluetooth headphones made by Apple, and they come in a nice little pod to charge with. Apple make everything just.
So it's those white things that I see people walking around with. That's
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's have a look. Yeah, video recording, is that the same as podcasts?
So podcasts is typically an audio product that you would create, and you would obviously put it out there. The ability to do podcasts from your phone is possible as well. There are platforms such as Anchor, as in you drop an anchor, ANCHOR, .fm. Anchor.fm is a free podcasting platform, and you can literally just record an MP3 on your phone, upload it to Anchor, and it's published as a podcast. It's a really simple, easy way to do it. Video is different, obviously, and you'll also find that there's a lot of people who will record their podcasts, but also they'll just use their smartphone to record the video at the same time. And I think for me, it's all about, making sure that you are obviously moving forward in the right direction with, your business by doing by implementing a strategy that you can also continue with. So getting bogged down with technology or thinking I'm just too busy to do another podcast is also an important consideration to think, because everybody thinks, okay, well, I'll do a podcast, but you still got to market that podcast. It's not just going to be listened to. So video and podcasting is different, but you can also combine the two. A lot of podcasters film themselves recording their podcast and publish the video to YouTube.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, when you said some of the objections that you hear, and I started to laugh because obviously I said that to you right before we went live, is David and I at the IAPC&M are not very technologically minded, and we really need to start embracing a lot more of this social media stuff. And I think even if it's a necessary evil, it is the way to go. We're just going to have to bite the bullet and learn all these things to be visible.
Yeah. And in the marketplace, the ones that are going to win are the ones that are going to show up more. And the ones that are showing up today are the ones that are utilizing video. They're creating an established brand online and a following, and it's a great way to get found. And we don't have to be spending money to be doing it. We can literally just be doing it. So
interesting.
Beatrice has asked a question.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I can't see it.
Beatrice asked a question. What are the ways to reach the masses other than ClickFunnels? Okay, here's my big take on this. Simplification is the key to being able to have a business that doesn't take up all of the time and all of the effort. And everything that I run in my entire business is run through a system called Kajabi. I'm going to type a link in to the question there. But if anybody was to want to get Kajabi, you could go to, I don't know if I can type this publicly into, what I'll do is I'll put it on the slide. If you go to that link, which is getkajabi.com, it will enable you to get a 28-day trial of the system that I use. And Kajabi is my website, my landing pages, my checkout pages, my email marketing, my events, my affiliate marketing side of things, my video hosting, my online products and programs, my membership area, and even my private communities. Plus, I also have the ability to have the Kajabi app for all of my customers so that they can see and engage in the private communities that aren't on places like Facebook, but they are inside my ecosystem. They're inside the membership area, and they can access them through their phone and everything as well. So for me, Kajabi, getkajabi.com will give you a 28-day free trial of the system rather than their standard 14 days. And it's the simplest way to be able to do it. And I ditched ClickFunnels, Infusionsoft, WordPress, ditched everything and made the switch 4 years ago to be able to go all in on Kajabi.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. Well, there was so much. It's hard to sort of unpick it. There was so much that you said, Ant, that resonated. But some of the key things that I took away was the simplicity. Keep it simple. And I know David particularly would like that. He always says, you know, simple is good, simplest is even better. Have fun. Let's face it, you know, that's why we go self-employed, isn't it? To have fun, get a better balance of life, and go on that beautiful yacht in the Marbella where I'm sat right now in my motorhome. And you made a really valid point about the implementation of ideas. Coming on a webinar like this, reading a book like the book that we've just created at the IAPC&M with 7 authors, How to Win Clients and Keep Them, none of that will actually get you anything unless you actually take action at the end of it. So I hope everybody on the call today and who's listening to the recordings at a later stage is actually going to take action, is going to phone Ant, ask for his expertise, hire him, join his masterclasses, etc. That's how you're going to grow your business. You have to have that leap of faith. If you want to mirror excellence, you've got to get close to the people who are actually doing it real time. And I think also, just to finish off, you know, what you said about the intense belief, not just for your customers. We're probably all as coaches really good at encouraging and instilling belief in our customers. But what about ourselves? What are we doing to invest in ourselves and inject that belief? And so you've got to be around like-minded people, around experts. So I think the care, that self-care, is really important. You know, the care of your business is often reflected in the care of you as a person, and vice versa. You know, if you're feeling low in energy, tired, jaded, it's possible your business is as well, and vice versa. So keep it fresh and network with people like Ant. So I don't think we need to end with how can we find you, what's next, because you've just given us a lovely page, you know, call to action. So thank you very much, Ant. It's been a pleasure to spend some time with the Coach on Fire, and I look forward to working with you again in 2020 for the benefit of all the IAPC&M members. Thank you.
Great. If you want to, there's also a free assessment over on the Coach on Fire website, which will take you through a series of about 29 questions. It's just a free assessment, and it'll give you a score based on my framework in terms of where your business is at currently. And then there's obviously an opportunity for us to be able to have a conversation after, if you want to complete that questionnaire and go through that assessment online as well. It's a free assessment online. So
great. Thank you very much. Very generous. Thank you, Ant. Bye-bye,
no
everybody.
problems.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.